In a lot of these other countries, you play with your city team or your club team. I'm assuming that's what you have, because I know that most schools in other countries don't always offer, athletics like that, like we do. A couple things that I would tell you, give you a little bit of advice on. Understand this. A lot of kids, and you're saying, you love basketball, you're not sure you're good enough to make the team, which leads me to think that maybe you haven't played competitively before. The one thing that I would advise you on, understand the commitment level that it takes to play competitively. And it doesn't matter if you're playing for a club team, in Peru, if you're playing at a high school team, here in the States, whatever. Sometimes kids don't really grasp like the concept. Like I would have kids come to me when I was coaching and they'd be like, so coach, I was going to try out for the team this year. And I'd be like, oh, okay. So when's practice? And I'd be like, well, we practice, every single day except for Sunday. Like we practice 6 days a week. And sometimes on Saturdays early in the season, we practice twice. You practice one in the morning, you practice one there. And they're like, really? So you practice every day? Yeah. Yeah, we do. We practice every single day. It's pretty competitive. It's pretty serious. I think that's the one thing you have to realize. If you are going to try to make that jump into competitive basketball, it's a pretty big commitment. It's going to be that time every day, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, whenever it is around school. It's going to be a sizable commitment. You're going to have, weightlifting, or you're going to have, practice, or you're going to have, conditioning, or whatever it might be. It's going to affect your schoolwork. As a high school, person, it's going to affect your grades. It's going to affect you're going to have to, budget your time a little better. It's going to affect your social life. If you're at practice or you're at games every night, your social life kind of changes. Those are the biggest things that I think kids don't always understand. And I don't know your situation there. I could barely pronounce the city you live in. If you're jumping into competitive basketball, that would be my advice. Here's the thing about coaches, because let me give you a little inside look at what coaches are looking for. And this is going to sound crazy, especially in the States. This sounds crazy. Because we kind of sometimes, like if you talk to the guy down the block that lives for me, and like maybe he played football back in the day, and you say, so you play football? Yeah. What happened? Oh, the coaches didn't like me. You know who the coaches, really are looking for? Like really good players. And I know that sounds crazy, but, coaches are always looking for talented players. If you have ability as a coach, I want you. Now, because I get fired if I don't win. So if you can play and you're not a jerk, they're looking for you. If you have some ability to play down there and you don't have a bad attitude or that kind of thing, they're looking for a kid like you. Some people have this mindset. Coaches want who they want. They just want their favorites. You know who their favorites are? Their favorites are like good players who can actually, do what they ask them to do and are coachable and are decent kids. That's usually, what that is. One thing that I always told kids, and I always told parents, be coachable. And that might sound, easier than what it really is, because a lot of kids and a lot of parents get that kind of confused. And you say, you need to be coachable. And they go, oh, okay. So, let's see, be coachable. So at the start of practice, I'll come in and I'll shake your hand, and then, I'll really stare at you intently when you're saying something. And then after practice, I'll come shake your hand again and I'll leave. That's being coachable. No, that's not really coachability to me. For me, let's say we're playing a scrimmage or something, and I pull my kids over and I say, hey, we need a good shot here. Like, I need a good shot here. And you go out and you chuck up a bad three. That's where coachability really comes in. It's one thing to listen intently and look at me. It's another thing to actually do what I ask you to do in that kind of a, where it's heated and it's pressure, and all of a sudden, what am I going to do when the game's on the line? You go down in the corner and like throw a hook shot from like 30 feet away. That's not really what I need you to do. So that would be my advice to you. Understand the commitment it's going to be, and then, go out there and if you're a coachable kid that has some ability, I wish you the best of luck. Work on your fundamentals. I know that word gets thrown out a lot. And fundamentals to me are the things that you do the most. So like in basketball, the things you do the most are you dribble the ball, be a good ball handler, you pass and catch the ball. I know that's an underrated part of the game, but can you pass, effectively? Can you catch the ball? I know that sounds like it would be simple, but a lot of kids can't. Can you shoot the ball? Shooting obviously is something very, very big. And then, rebounding and defense. If you can do those things, Coaches are at least going to take a look at you. I thank you for the email from Peru. And I wish you the best. Feel free to keep me updated and let me know how that goes. All right. We've just got a couple more here that we've got to get to. Hi, Clint. A friend recommended the podcast and now I listen every week. I heard you mention that you can give some advice and I need some advice. Well, then I'm the person you need to contact. I've been talking to a guy since October. He lives in Colorado Springs, but he works up here in Denver. And we've only been on 4 dates when he comes up. I really like him, but he doesn't always seem that interested. I only see him if he comes to Denver. What gives? And this is from Chrissy. What was the other one? Oh, from Chris. This is from Chrissy. Okay. Let's see. I heard you mention you, so you live in Denver and this guy lives in Colorado. Colorado Springs from Denver is like an hour and a half away. Works here in Denver and you guys go out when he comes up and he's up here, but he doesn't always seem that interested. You only see him if he's up here already in Denver for business. What gives? Let me tell you what gives, Chrissy. And I'm going to say this here. Here's the thing that I want to kind of preface this a little bit. Chrissy, I don't know you. You sound like a nice person. I guess you sound like a good person. So in no way does this in any way affect my feeling for you or whether or not you're a good person or whether you're, it's not that. This shouldn't affect self-esteem in any capacity. What the situation you have here is, Chrissy, you are what is known, in some circles as a side piece. And so, he has his girl down in Springs and then when he comes up here, he kind of hangs out with you. I don't know how to say that any clearer. I hope that's not insulting in any way. You're the other woman. And I'm not saying he's married. I'm not saying, but that's where this is. Again, you get insight on the Daily Dose. You don't get this anywhere else. You're the side piece. So, good luck with that. Chrissy, my advice to you would be to go find another person. Look for a nice person that, actually wants to hang out with you and actually wants to be with you, because he's seeing someone else. Let's move forward. Hey, last one here. Clint, thanks for the Daily Dose. I actually wish it was a daily show. Well, yes, of course, you guys might wish it was a daily show, but do you know how much work it is to do one show? It's a lot of work. I appreciate that. If you had 2 minutes left in the game and you need a quarterback to win, who are you taking? That is from TJ. Very, very good question. And yeah, Daily Dose, daily show. It's not a daily show. I guess we can talk about that in the future, but right now we just go once a week. If I had 2 minutes left in the game, that's a tough one because there's a lot of things to think about, more than maybe just on the surface. My guy, and you're going to go, oh, well, you're just a homer. John Elway had all the tools. Now, and he was so good late in games. Always had that ability to get people around him to play at a higher level late in the games. Sometimes we forget because the Super Bowls that Elway won in 98, 99, he was an old man. He could barely move. I mean, he still had a pretty good arm. But he was handing it off to Terrell Davis. He was throwing short to Shannon Sharp and Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey and those guys. If you look back, like the next time on NFL Network, they're showing like the drive. And in the drive against Cleveland, Elway's playing on a really bad ankle. He had hurt the ankle, pretty significantly the week before. And I think that was against New England. And he was running on a bad ankle that week. His ankle was wrapped really, really heavy. Take a look at a couple of the scrambles he had in that game. He runs past corners and safeties. People forget how good of an athlete John Elway was. A guy that put so much pressure on the defense because he had, the legs and the speed to run past linebackers, corners, safety. I mean, he was a big guy that could really, really move for a big dude. And then he had a cannon for an arm. I mean, you forget the play where he would roll all the way to his right, throw it clear back across to the left where the defense kind of said, well, he can't throw it this far. So we just have to kind of cover the midline area. He could throw it over your head. So John Elway is probably a guy that would be at the top of my list. My only issue with that, he wasn't always great in Super Bowls. Joe Montana, Joe Montana was a guy that was just Joe Cool. I mean, we saw what he did in Super Bowls, the one especially against the Bengals when it was, the last few minutes of the game, and he takes them right down the field, converts a few big plays. Joe Montana was just Joe Cool. I mean, dude didn't get rattled, always really, really good. I don't know that he was that good athletically, played in a phenomenal system. I'm not going to say he was just a system guy, but Joe Montana was just the right guy for that system, and never got rattled. I'll give you a couple other guys that I would take, and he just passed earlier this summer, Kenny Stabler. Kenny Stabler was a guy, that, when we did our a show a few weeks back where we talked about guys that were underrated, Kenny Stabler just missed being on that list. And after he had passed away, I really wish I had put him on there, but Kenny Stabler was a guy, I don't know numbers wise you would put him there, but late in the game, and it might be illegal plays, I don't know, but Kenny Stabler just found ways to make plays. And the last guy that I would put on that list, would have to be Roger Staubach. When you look at Roger Staubach and his winning percentage, and again, late in the game when things were tight and everybody else, you're kind of looking for that leader. You're kind of looking for that guy. How are we going to get this done? Roger Staubach was a guy that just said, hey, we'll be fine. We'll get this done. And always found a way to succeed, late in games. So I guess there's four guys for you. I guess the homer in me, I'll take John Elway. I think he was so good late in games, but any of those four guys, I'm going to be fine late in the game with. That is our mailbag for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I really do. I appreciate the questions. If you have a question that you would like to send in, and we got questions from everywhere. I had a couple, they were questions, but just emails. I had one from Russia. I had one from Germany. We get kind of some stuff from all over the world. We had a question here from someone in Peru. So if you have a question you would like to send me, dailydosesports@gmail.com. That comes to us here at the show. You may be on another edition, of the Daily Dose, mailbag. Hey, next week on The Dose, we will be back to our regular format and we will be talking all things sports related. Yes, we need to recap that NCAA tournament and we need to discuss a number of things that we have learned so far. Plus, we will be keeping you up to date with the latest and greatest breaking sports news as only we can. So you've got to make sure that you tune into The Dose again next week. Hey, I have to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daily Dose every week. Thank you for those emails that you do send. I know we haven't done an email show in a while, but thank you for those. We'll always take the time to respond to you. Feel free to send one out. Thank you for the text. Thank you for the tweets that you send. But more than anything, thank you so much for recommending the Daily Dose to someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. Have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Spring! Rejuvenation! Rebirth! Everything's blooming! All that crap!